The NRA has put out a number of fairy tales that appeal to children and basically give them the idea that guns are great and they're only there to protect them, which is probably a bad idea considering all the recent stories involving kids who come across guns and then use them to either shoot their siblings, themselves, or their parents. Now, one of those stories that the NRA has put out, again, this is a fairy tale. It's a cartoon story that they've put out for kids. Has to do with Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood has a gun, is the title of one of them, and Hansel and Gretel have guns that arm the main characters with firearms. Here's a little picture showing you what these cartoons look like. I say cartoons. They're not cartoons. They're just storybooks modeled after very famous fairy tales, and then they go ahead and arm all of these characters. To give you an example of what some of the stories say, one says, have you ever wondered what those same fairy tales might sound like if the hapless Red Riding Hoods, Hansel and Gretels, had been taught about gun safety and how to use firearms?
No, I never wondered that, actually.
No, neither have I. And so they're marketing guns toward children, right? Children should not have the ability to own guns, to fire guns, to play with guns, to be anywhere near guns. If you believe in the Second Amendment right, I get it, okay? But when you're making arguments that children need to be armed, well, then you've lost your mind.
No, they haven't actually. It's quite rational because we told corporations in this country, we literally built them that way. Legally, they are required to make every red cent they can. And some of those corporations make weapons, and they got to sell those weapons. Some of them are defense contractors, so they have to create more and more conflicts, more and more wars, because they have to maximize profit. They must do it. It's a fiduciary responsibility of theirs. And for gun makers inside our country, well, the more people who get killed, the more people are scared, the more people buy guns, the more they make money. So the more shootings there are and the more people who get killed, the more they will maximize profit. So how would you maximize profit? Well, if you've already got 250 million guns in the country of only 300 million people, you've literally almost got one gun per person in the country. Well, then you got to start young. You got to start selling to the kids.
That's right.
Because almost all the adults, in fact, it's more than one gun per adult. So you got to start not only selling to the kids, but you got to get them ready so that when they're adults, because you did propaganda, they'll want to buy more and more guns. Hey, what was the answer for Little Red Riding Hood? A gun. No. What was the answer for Hansel and Gretel? A gun, right?
Think about arguments that have been made against legalizing marijuana. Well, if we legalize it, then kids are going to have access to it, right?
Yeah.
We're fucking worried about marijuana, okay? Which, by the way, I don't want kids smoking marijuana. And if we legalize it, there'd be regulations to prevent that. But we're having conversations about that. And at the same time, we're allowing one of the biggest lobbying groups in the country to market weapons like this to children, okay? Weapons that have been created to kill. That's the only thing that guns do, they kill, okay? Anyone who argues against that, I don't know which world you're from, but that's what it's supposed to do.
And by the way, the other part of this is that we shouldn't be surprised because this happened before. The tobacco companies did the same thing. They started marketing to kids.
Yes.
And Joe the Camel.
Camel Joe.
Right, and all that. And so then at long last, we finally woke up and realized, oh man, these cigarettes are killing people, you know, and so maybe we shouldn't let them market to kids. You know what else kills people? Guns. Yeah. And it does it a little faster than cigarettes.
And this is the same NRA that is vehemently against smart guns, which basically makes sure that the owner is the only person who can fire off a gun. It has special sensor technology, which would prevent a lot of mass shootings where kids steal their parents' guns. The NRA is against that.
Why would they be against that? That doesn't stop a sale. That might even increase sales of guns. That doesn't.
No.
Why are they against armor-piercing bullets? Like they're against all sorts of things that make sense.
Against preventing armor-piercing bullets.
They're pro-armor-piercing.
Fox News talks about Black Lives Matter because they chant against the cops. The NRA wants you to be able to buy bullets that are specifically designed to kill cops. Because I don't know if you know this, the deer do not have armor. Okay, and a regular civilian or a regular robber does not have armor. Almost the only people in this country who have armor and wear it regularly are cops. So the NRA thinks, I am going to make every cent I can, because they represent the gun manufacturers. We're going to squeeze every cent we can. If that means more cops are killed, great, I made an extra buck. That's how we design these out-of-control corporations, right? And then we let them buy our government, so we can't even do anything about them. And so the technology that Jordan's talking about here with can only fire if it's, got your hand on it, right? Now you think like, Well, why would you be against that? No, because they want bad guys to be able to, A, get guns that don't belong to them. They buy a lot of guns. You think they don't want the bad guys to have guns? The bad guys pay even more money. They got to pay the guy who's buying it, quote unquote, legally for them and then giving it to them. That guy's going to make money in the meanwhile, but more guns are going out. Of course they want the bad guys to have guns. That means they sold more guns.
Right.
And so, and then if you make these guns that the bad guys can't use, well, they sell less guns. Plus, you'll have less accidents. You'll have less all those things. And the more deaths there are, not just the more guns there are, the more deaths there are, the more people are scared and want to protect themselves with more guns.
They prey on paranoia.
So
It is an industry built on death. That's what it is.
well, it's certainly, the Three Little Pigs would be more interesting, right? I'll open up or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your fucking head off with this shotgun I have right here. That'll be the new one. And also, they think about this. In America, we're taking toys out of Happy Meals because we think that food is bad for kids, and we don't want you to entice kids into eating crappy food by giving them a toy in their Happy Meal. That's what they're doing now. Yet the NRA goes, hey, get rid of the toy. Let's start marketing guns toward them. What? This is where we've come to in America. And it's because I'm going to say we have a neutral media, which allows our government to be bought. And our government is bought. So after Sandy Hook shooting, 90% of the people in America wanted some kind of gun legislation. We didn't get it. Why? Because they only respond to donors, not voters. And that's what Bernie Sanders is here to overturn. And that's what we're here to overturn, bringing back democracy back to the people. So politicians actually respond to the voters. Wolf-pack.com.
Goddamn right.